Oh! Oh, hey! Hey, I didn't see you there. Just kidding, yeah, I did. What's up? Yeah, it's me, Baddington. What am I doing? Oh, I'm working on a short film. Yeah. Yeah, it's going good. We recently closed applications, but we'll probably open up a few more in case we need help. But yeah. What's the short film about? Well, it's a horror short film. You know me. It's about this game called Five Nights at Freddy's. I don't know if you've heard of it. Oh, you have? You have heard of it? Oh, okay. Well, you're so smart. You know everything. But, yeah, production started, and it's going swell. We're working hard. But you want to know something, though? Is that before this project, I've actually never been a part of a production team. Yeah, it's always just been me. I know, right? It's so crazy. You wouldn't have expected it, but that's why it always takes longer and longer for each video to come out, is because it's just me, and I'm also amping up that production quality, so it's gonna be hard, you know, to do it on my own. And well, I've been in charge of pretty much everything, and I have some people, but I've never had a team dedicated to the entire project. I've done everything. I've done the modeling, the texturing, the rigging, the animating, the editing, even some of the voice acting. I did the toy maker.
I also did the Ice Cream Man. I also did a little bit of Henry myself.
And then some other ones you might be familiar with from the VHS series of FNAF and stuff like that. Bonnie, why don't you mop the floor, why don't you? You got it, Mr. Boss Man. I do a lot around here. I pull my own weight. The process that goes into these videos is very painful because it would just be just me. And on top of that, ad revenues are only really for the production and not really to support myself or my family or my dog that has cataract in her eye. I'm kidding. My dog is fine. I mean, she does have cataract, but she's fine. She can see fine. I don't know what. And let me just stop talking about my dog. Here's a picture of her. I love her so much. Yeah, I guess you're right. I do have some merchandise. I do have a hoodie and I do have a poster or two. Yeah, you're right. I also did the plushies, Bonzo. I mean, I'm not gonna have you guys wait 2 years or more just for a video to come out, and then in the meantime I sprinkle in some merchandise commercials or something like that, like I've done before with any of my merchandise. I mean, I can. Would you like that? You know, to be able to support my projects, would you want to, you know, me have another makeshift plushie while you wait a year or two for like Harmony Horror episode? No? I didn't think so. What's an engaging way for me to get support from you guys, but also for me to engage with my community? Because I love my community. I love reading all the comments and liking the comments and replying hi to anybody that says hi in the comments and hearting any comments. You know, what can I do? And that's why I introduce you to my Patreon. Yes, so this is gonna be a Patreon video, but not, hold on. Okay? I mean, look at these guys. These are my patrons right now. You gonna disrespect them? No. Look, I love this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. I love them all. Each one of them gets to, you know, message me and I reply back. I get to read their comments on any of my work and get feedback. They also see some behind the scenes stuff. These guys are cool. Sorry guys, see you guys later. But aside from that, it's not just a Patreon video, okay? Come on, you really think I was gonna spend a whole video dedicated to this? I am, but in a different way, because I'm starting an auction. An auction for what, Baddington? What are you talking about? I'll explain. Let's say we get like 50 plus patrons, not including the ones I already have, but 50 plus patrons on my Patreon. You guys get a reward. A reward of a model release to you to use. And you guessed it, the models I'm releasing are my FNAF VHS vintage models. Clap it up, everybody. Yeah, I finally did it. You know, I finally broke the shackles to say, you know what, let's do a model pack release. But hold on, because we need to explain this further. So, for 50 plus Patreons, if you subscribe to my Patreon, and we get 50 of you guys, not including the ones I have, if we get 50 of you guys, we'll be releasing Vintage Freddy. That's right, everybody. Vintage Freddy Fazbear for 50 plus Patreons. Now, for another additional 50, adding up to 100 Patreons, you guys are gonna get Vintage Bonnie, everybody. Vintage Bonnie. So, for 100 in total, 50-50 for each one, you'll get Vintage Freddy and Vintage Bonnie. And for another 50, you'll get Vintage Chica. Vintage Chica, everybody. So, that's already 150 patrons in total to get Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica. So, after that, you guessed it, another 50 for Vintage Vintage Foxy. Vintage Foxy. For 200 patrons subscribe to my Patreon, you'll get Vintage Freddy, Vintage Bonnie, Vintage Chica, and Vintage Foxy. And for another, not 50, no, up it up a little bit, 100 patrons after the 200 we already have. 100 patrons, adding up to 300 patrons in total. You get the whole Vintage gang. And Vintage Marionette, everybody. Vintage Marionette. This one I'm excited, you know, I recently made this, so this is a lot of work, right? Once we get 300 patrons subscribe to my Patreon. And it doesn't stop there. No. It doesn't stop there. Because after we get 200 more subscribed patrons to my Patreon, I'll be releasing Vintage Fredbear, equipped with the Bite of 83 skin pack, or whatever you call it. You also get Spring Bonnie, or Bonnie Bun, I don't really care. That's right, for 200 more, which means you get 500 patrons. If 500 patrons subscribe to my Patreon, you get Vintage Freddy, Vintage Bonnie, Vintage Chica, Vintage Foxy, Vintage Marionette, Vintage Fredbear, and Vintage Spring Bonnie. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that? So you get the whole gang, all those guys, for 500 patrons subscribe to my Patreon. This helps support future projects. This allows you guys to engage with me and also view a bunch of behind the scenes and work in progress content. This allows me to support my family and my little puppuccino with her cataract eye. Well, she's fine, but my Pupperino. Would you do it for her? Would you do it for her? I know you would. So yeah, the choice is yours. I worked really hard on these models. And if we don't reach the milestones, you won't get the models. You know? I even have some rules set up, okay? No, not safe for work. I don't want to see carbon copies. I mean, there's a little gray area there. You know, if it's for practice, you know, I understand. If you just want to support and, you know, recreate it, I understand. But no carbon copies. And you must credit me and the mediocre makers, because this would not have been possible without the mediocre makers. A bunch of talented, stupid moth. This wouldn't have been possible without the mediocre makers' help. Yes, it will be ported, so there will be some for Blender and Cinema 4D and SFM, so don't worry about that. But these guys are responsible for making the accurate juniors models, okay? These guys mean business. Make sure you follow these rules. No, not safe for work. No carbon copies, and also you have to credit me, and you have to credit the mediocre makers. I'll leave a link down below for their Twitter and stuff like that, okay? What's the choice gonna be? Are you gonna set them free? You're gonna set my models free? Or are they just gonna lie and wither away in a storage facility? Are they? Guess we'll find out. Fazbear Entertainment auction is waiting, my friends. But aside from that, I got something else to show you. Something real special I've been cooking up. It's a teaser for the short film I've been working on. Without further ado, I introduce you guys to the FNAF short film first teaser. Enjoy. Is the thing still rolling? Whoops.